Thank you for watching Conscious Consumer Network. The live stream broadcast is free to view. You can pause and rewind live broadcasts to catch up, or view shows at a later date by accessing our free archives of all shows. Check out our broadcast guide to see what's on. You can show your support by donating to our network support fund. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or subscribe to the monthly newsletter for updates. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.
Hell is for children, and you should not be paid for your love with your bones and your flesh.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Hell is for Children. This show is on every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 9 p.m. or 2100 hours Central European Time. My name is Geerte Frenken, and this show is all about the topic of protective mothers and their children. So you might ask yourself, what is a protective mother? A protective mother tries to protect her child or children from their abusive fathers by many means necessary, which is an uphill battle in today's global corrupt family court system that thrives on paternal entitlement. Today's guest is protective mother Wendy, who is stuck in Italy due to a corrupt Hague Convention case. And she did not only lose custody of her 6-year-old son to her abusive Italian ex, but she is also prosecuted in an Amanda Knox-style trial, facing 1 to 3 years imprisonment due to bogus charges. Hi, Wendy. Welcome to Hell's for Children.
Hi, Geerte. I want to say thank you for having me. How are you?
Thanks. I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm sorry for the hat.
No. Some moms are going to be on anonymously, and that's understandable because, some moms are afraid to get retaliated, in the court or by their exes. So I'm totally okay with that. And I'm just happy to have you on and have you share your story with the audience today.
Thank you, Geerte.
Yeah, how did you end up in Italy in this crazy situation?
Oh my God, I know, it's so crazy. Well, it's a long story, of course, but I fell in love with an Italian man in 2000 and I would say about 2007. We got married and we ended up moving to Italy, and we had a child in 2009. It all happened really fast. And then things went downhill from there. I'm a lawyer and I'm from the States. And after I had our son, I said, oh no, oh my God. I kind of jumped into everything, and I didn't really know how extreme this situation is. But, I had an idea that there could be some problems, but, I was in love, and I thought, oh, of course, you're blinded by by love and all that in the beginning. And, once we were in Italy and we had our son, things just kind of downward spiraled. When he was 3 months of age, well, actually, right after we were married, backing up a little bit, we bought a house in the States because we intended to reside there, actually. He was looking for work, and so we were going back and forth a lot. And, we thought he could find something, good paying. He'd lived in North America, in the U.S., and in Canada for about 8 years. And so, he really liked it. And that was promising because I liked Europe too, but I didn't want to stay there forever. So we bought a house after we got married, and we thought, okay, we'll find something comparable in pay. And, I can work in the U.S. too. And, once I start working again after we have the child, and, it'll work out good. So we liked the house. We liked the location. He found work. But then he just, things weren't going so well between us. And he decided he wanted to just, stay in Italy. So I gave it a go. And, it was really difficult. I was alone a lot. He was traveling for work. And, the situation just got worse over, I would say, from the time our son was born, and the following maybe 3 years after that, is when, things really got bad. So, and then things really took a turn for the worse when I went ahead and went on a family vacation to our house in the U.S. And my husband, actually, he's still my husband, actually, Geerte. It's been about 3 years, but things move very, very, very slow in Italy. So we're still married. Anyways, we are separated, but we're still married. In 2013, we made plans. He bought tickets. We wanted to spend the holidays in our home in the States. He set everything up, and, we were in agreement. And he just kind of said, you know what, I really don't want you to go. And I don't want you to go with our son. And at the time I was really sick. I was having some physical illnesses. I was in and out of the hospital. I was doing really bad. I didn't have any help with our son. And my ex was always traveling. So I had no car. I had no internet. I was in a little village in Italy. So it was difficult. And I said, well, you know what? I need to just, excuse me, get to the States, get some help from my family, get some rest. And, he said, like, no, absolutely not. Like, you're not going until I tell you can go. So anyways, I went ahead and went, and that's when things really heated up. And he basically, the day I left for that trip, I was with my son. I picked him up from school. We left. And he just freaked out. He went to the police station. He said that, he filled out a missing persons report, and he just started really heavy-handedly litigating. And, things blew up from there.
So how does that work? I'm just starting to wonder, like, okay, so you guys were still married, but he started litigating. So on what grounds was he litigating?
Right. Well, basically what he did was he filed for a separation right away, and he filed the Hague Convention.
All right.
So he filed a petition to have our son returned to Italy, even though he knew where he was. He had contact with him. I was calling him and letting him know where we were right when we landed. We were going to the house. We had a home phone. He was calling there. So, it was just, one of those things. You can do this with the Hague. And this is why, one of the reasons why I'm on your show, because I want to talk about how corrupt it is and how people are using it in the wrong way. And it's really being abused.
Let's explain to the viewers what the Hague Convention is. It is an international treaty for international custody issues, basically. Can you put it in your own words? You're an attorney, so you're probably much better in explaining it to the audience than I am.
Yeah, I don't know if you have a link, too, that you can show them.
Yes, I'll share a screen. Yep.
Okay, good. So basically, if you believe that your child has been taken by the other parent out of their habitual residence, what you can do is file something under this convention that you're seeing on the screen right now with the central authority. And it's basically an application to return the child to where they habitually reside. And it's something that, in the past worked well, but now with all of the international traveling and the international couples and the multicultural families, it's become a real big problem. And what we see now is a trend in fathers, actually, abusive fathers, using this to seek custody or get custody of their children. And basically, he filed this against me, saying that, he didn't consent to our son leaving the country. And we had been traveling since my son was 3 months old. We had been traveling every couple months back to the States. So it wasn't anything. I mean, his passport was, covered in stamps going back and forth basically for 4 years. So, it wasn't anything unusual. But anyways, the Hague Convention is a really big problem today for many, many families. And, we're just seeing it now. It really is just kind of taking off, where all these people are filing this. And we see also, that it's usually fathers. And so anyways, he filed this, and the court just said, okay, what's going on here? Basically, we got into court. He flew in right away, pretty much. So we were both in the States, and we worked out an arrangement for him to see our child. So we basically had shared parenting while this whole thing was going on. And I said, well, you know what? I never intended to leave Italy. I was just going to our home in the U.S. as scheduled, as planned. And it was something that I did every few months. So I think that, he basically had this planned. If things got really bad between us, which they were just, just at the very, very rock bottom. And excuse me. Basically what ended up happening in federal court, once I got to federal court and I told the judge, listen, I'm planning on going back. I never changed my ticket. Unfortunately, he's already filed for a separation, and I'm faced with that when I go back now. He also filed for sole custody. And this is where it really got ugly. And this is where I would like for other mothers to know, they really have to watch out for this, because if you're dealing with anybody, your spouse that's in their country and they were born there and you lived there for half a year, this is something that they can do. And it's not legal because it's actually against the Hague Convention, but they can file in their habitual residence for an order for sole custody. Okay. And they can file for a separation. They can do that, of course. And once they go ahead and do that, depending on the country, in Italy, this case is in Italy, the judge knew that there was a Hague Convention case pending. And my ex-husband got into court, or my husband got into court and said, okay, Wendy kidnapped our child. He's never been out of the country before. He's never been removed. He's 4 years old. He has a life here in Italy. And, this is outrageous. And, she's kidnapped him. I had no idea about it. And of course, the judge was like, oh my God, well, there's a Hague Convention case pending in the U.S. federal court. And according to the Hague Convention that you just saw on the screen, it says that when there is a pending action in a federal court or in any court in the, any country, and the partner countries have signed the Hague Convention, anybody a party to the Hague Convention needs to observe this rule. And Italy didn't, basically. They just said, okay, yeah, there's a Hague Convention pending, but you know what? We don't care. We're just going to grant this Italian citizen father's, motion for sole custody. And so in 2013, December of 2013, he was granted this temporary order for, sole custody. So, and it hasn't changed. It's been the same ever since. So once you make these, these moves and and somebody files this against you, either your husband or your wife, basically, it takes years and years and years to just unravel the situation. And the judges don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's also important to explain to the audience that the fathers have really organized over the last 30 years or so into these fathers' rights groups. And this is, they've caused a global pandemic of protective mothers losing their children. And the way they do that often is by allowing the mothers to go home to their country with the children. And then after, the moms and the children have been in their own country for several months, all of a sudden they'll change their minds and say, oh, I never gave permission to that. The mom's a child abductor. And then the Hague Convention only rules on jurisdiction. So they really don't look at any custody. They look at jurisdiction only. And they say, well, the child was born in this country, so that's where it needs to be returned. And I have on my screen here the list of the countries that have signed on to this treaty.
Yeah,
now,
it's a lot of countries. I think it's like 82 or something, right?
Right. Often the mothers return to their own country with the children because of abusive situations. And in this treaty, it's got a whole bunch of articles. If you go to Article 13, and I'll scroll to it here, you'll see that Article 13 states that the child, if there's any type of physical or psychological harm that places the child in an intolerable situation, then that child should not have to return to the country where of the father, basically, because we're talking about mothers here. And what's really important about this is that this Article 13 is barely ever used, and the fathers, they know this, and they're using this to separate the mothers from the children. So basically what happens is, okay, so here's the Hague Convention case, and now the mother is made out to be a child abductor. The kids are deported back to the country of the father, and the mother is now considered a criminal and can often not return to the country where the child and the father is now. So it's really the father's rights groups, the abusers within that group have really found a way to sever the mother-child bond effectively.
Definitely.
Yeah. And one of the things that you and I are trying to do is making sure that the Hague Convention Treaty actually applies this Article 13 to situations of domestic violence and any type of child abuse and child molestation. So I just wanted to kind of, share this with the audience for viewers who are not aware that it works this way, because you have an excellent point here. We need to warn mothers who are about getting
and I think that
married.
if a mother were to read this before I think if a mother were to read the Hague Convention and try to understand it, actually with a lawyer as well, they would see this Article 13 defense. But what a lawyer doesn't tell you normally, really, I mean, I would say my lawyer didn't tell me, and most lawyers don't know this, and I feel like, the father's rights lawyers do know this. And if you take a look at all the case law, you'll see that it's not used, this article is not used very often because it's not a winning article. You can't win on it. I mean, I've seen courts send children back to their habitual residence in war zones.
Yes, it's become a father's rights deportation treaty, as I call it. This has nothing to do with the best interests of the child anymore. And children are deported back to countries that are in war, countries where the family court system is corrupt, situations where there are domestic violence. Like in my case, there was expert evidence submitted to the Hague Court stating by 7 different experts that my daughter had been molested and abused, and she was still deported back. And now I'm made out to be a child abductor. The father promised in the Hague Court that he would not tell the authorities any of this so I could safely cross the border, but he did that anyway. And there's no follow-up to hold him responsible. And this is what we see. You and I know, hundreds of moms in this situation. There are thousands and thousands of them all.
Thousands.
And we just don't know them all yet, but we're going to work on that. But, this is a rampant problem now. So here we are all over the world, protective mothers who have lost their custody of our kids due to this Hague Convention Treaty not applying Article 13. But go on. Let's go back to your story.
Okay, so let's see, where did I leave off? Basically, so I've been here since I came back in January of 2014. And going back to the Hague case, basically what happened in the federal court was I said, listen, I never intended on staying here. And, this was just a family vacation, even though it's unfortunate that my ex filed the separation and I'm going to have to go back to these, horrendous situations. And I have no idea what's going to happen now because he's been granted sole custody. Nevertheless, I went back anyways. I really thought that going back would make him more, tranquil, relaxed. I thought he would behave better, actually, if he felt that he had more control of the situation. So I went back to Italy I was homeless. I didn't have, anywhere to go. I had some friends, so I basically couch surfed for months until I could find something. I had no court date that was set that was, within the next week or so. So I had to wait, I think maybe 2 months before getting back into court. And I had, a terrible time because I was without my son for the first time in 4 years. So, I felt like I was, suffering like a death almost. And, I was homeless. It was the winter. It was in January. And, Italy's beautiful, but in January it's cold and dark. And so anyways, I got back here. I went to court and they decided that the temporary custody order was okay the way it was. Okay. And this was in, let's see, I got back in January. I think I went to court in early March, and this is what they told me. So I thought, oh my God, like I'm going to be in for the long haul here. Going back a little bit to The Hague, and this is something I wanted to touch on too with you, is that back in federal court, my ex-husband and I decided that we were going to, proceed with the separation and the custody issue in Italy, and that we would work on some sort of, shared custody agreement. Okay. And he also agreed to not prosecute me or, for example, he was going to stipulate to dismissing the Hague Convention, the Hague petition against me. And basically the court told him too, there was no evidence to support that there was a wrongful retention or an illegal taking or anything. So I did nothing wrong according to the court in the U.S. And I didn't have any intention of doing anything wrong. So when he said, okay, let's do these things, and what they're called undertakings, okay? And they're referred to as undertakings. And a lot of women think that, okay, if you have this contract between you and your husband, and he agrees that he's going to, pay for your apartment when you go back to the habitual residence country, and you guys are going to, try to work things out, I don't know, get divorced or whatever you're going to do, work out some sort of shared parenting agreement, and he agrees to all of these things in one country. When you get to the other country, it's basically like, even if the case in the one country, like the U.S., for example, in my case, it was dismissed with prejudice against him. Okay, so he had to pay for all costs related to it. And they dismissed it with prejudice. Basically, that means that it was like he never brought it and he can't bring it again against me, okay, for that particular situation. So, I think the court made a good decision there. When I got back to Italy, he just acted like nothing happened, basically. And he moved forward, also with the court, telling them that I had kidnapped our son and that the U.S. court said the same thing. So this is what I've been fighting ever since. And I have attorneys. I have about 6 attorneys right now that are working for me. And it's been almost 3 years. Okay. And it's just like, I don't see any end in sight. It's just going and going and going.
So your son lives with him now?
Yes. And I do have some visitation, not very much. I have 2 days during the week, 2 afternoons, and I have every other weekend.
So do you have a visa to live there and to work there?
Well, that's a good question because, a lot of countries, this would be a problem. But fortunately, I did get my visa to stay here while I was married. So I have something that, excuse me, I can live here, I can work. But yeah, I know that's a big problem too.
That's a big problem
many
for
women.
Yeah, for a lot of protective mothers, they don't even have a visa. Like if I could go back, my visa is expired. I don't have a green card anymore,
Right.
so I can't even work there or live there.
Right. So. Now, in terms of citizenship, I would like to apply for citizenship through my son, but at this point, I don't know if I can because, well, I mean, I can, but I don't think it would be a good time because I'm going to trial with this criminal case. So I'm going to have to, wait and see what happens with that. And that is set for September.
So your ex basically charged you for, filed charges against you for child abduction. Mm-hmm. So not only have you lost custody of your son and you only have visitation, which is very, very meager, so to speak.
Very.
You also now are facing criminal charges, even though the United States has stated this is not any criminal case and it is actually your ex that was put
Yes.
the burden on. So it's completely turned around, which is important to point out. So what we see here in your case is that you actually, the case was basically decided in your favor, so to speak. But then in the other country where the father lives, they disregard everything that's happening.
Everything. And normally that does happen. It's very, very well known that this is the case. And you can see it if you start looking through the case law and you go through somebody's case that has been in the same situation. Usually these orders don't have any implication in the other country. And the judges don't care. They don't they don't honor the agreement. It's something that it's dangerous because as a mother you think, okay, I have an agreement, I have a court order, my country said this, and the other country that I'm going to has signed this convention and everyone's a party to it. And so you think that everything's okay and that it's going to go work out. And even your attorneys will tell you that, yes, you have the court order. The federal court will tell you, everything's going to be okay. But when you get to their country, they don't care, and it's usually in a different language. So that's even worse. And even if you have it translated, they don't even read it. So, and I've seen this time and time again. I would say in 98% of the cases, the other court doesn't care, will not look at what the other court in the other country says. They just move on with what they want to do.
So let's look at, you're kind of frozen. So I'm going back, I'm sharing the screen while you're getting unfrozen. And
sorry.
That's okay. Going back to the Hague Convention treaty here, because the way this works, so there is this treaty, and then there's this, the enforcement of the treaty is actually happening through something called the central authority, and I wanted to kind of touch on that. So the role of the central authority is to make sure that, and I'm trying to pull this up, it's over here, this is the enforcement protocol of the central authority. So the central authority is supposed to make sure that the treaty is worked out between, the agreements that are put on paper, that they're actually worked out in the other country as well. So in your case, the central authority should have helped you make sure that Italy wasn't going to, file any criminal charges against you. What has been your experience? Because obviously, now you're facing criminal charges, and what has the central authority done for you in all of this?
Yeah, basically, I've contacted the central authority as well as the U.S. consulate. I would say, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I have contacted them for my case, I would say 12 times. And I have been really, quite frankly, faced with a lot of opposition from them. They are just, first of all, they answer the phone and they have some, a clerk or something answering the phone, maybe a college student, I'm not sure. They have no idea what's going on. But when you do talk to somebody who says that they're the manager or, the director of the department, they can't offer any help at all. It's outrageous. I mean, I've never seen anything like it before, but I called back. I probably called about 20 times actually, but I've spoken to them. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're kind of breaking up. So what I'll do is I'll share the screen and and share with the audience that I've had the same experience.
They've done nothing.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know my case, my daughter is in the United States, I'm in the Netherlands, and the central authority is supposed to now make sure my daughter is, getting checked out on sexual abuse charges by her father and everything, and that they're not doing anything. And like in your case, they're not answering the phone. When I send emails, they just say, you got to go to court over there and go figure it out over there.
Yeah, and they don't call you back. They have a caseworker also, Geerte, for the central authority. They have a caseworker in each country, or a group of them, depending on the country. And they're supposed to be in charge of doing this and facilitating the Hague Convention and the acts under the Hague Convention. And I think it's Article 19 that facilitates access to your children.
21, Article
21,
21.
sorry. Very
Yeah.
good. 21. And this is another problem because I do have access to him and I have a visitation order. It is temporary. But I've had a lot of problems with actually visitation as well. And, you can go to the police and they don't care if you don't see your child. And the courts don't care either. And so if you go to the central authority and say, listen, I have this access order, yet I can't, the father's not facilitating a relationship with me and the child, and I don't know what to do. Can you please help me get access to my child? They do nothing. Nothing at all. And actually, if you've had a Hague case, a Hague petition filed against you, they'll actually say, oh, sorry, there's nothing we can do. And there's not anything written in the Hague Convention that says that that's something that they cannot do if you have a petition filed against you.
There's actually that whole protocol that I just shared states that they have the legal obligation to help us because otherwise the mother-child bond is severed. They have to ensure that there's contact. They have to ensure that your rights are met in the other country. And in your case, in my case, they've completely dropped the ball. And in all the other hundreds of cases that you and I personally know, they have all dropped the ball. There's nobody home.
Yeah, and Article 21 is really important. And I think that a lot of mothers have this problem and it's not being addressed because, well, for a number of reasons, but a lot of mothers that I know that have lost custody after a Hague Convention case, they don't have the financial backing to hire a lawyer to fight this issue and to use Article 21. And so it's really not used very often. In fact, I can't find any case law that a mother has used this argument to get access to her children. And I really think it's because at the end of the day, after, I don't know, several years of litigating and being driven into a hole, nobody has money to hire a lawyer to argue this issue.
Very good point, because interestingly enough, when my ex-husband came to the Netherlands to file his Hague petition against me, he got legal aid. So he got a free lawyer from the Netherlands, right? It ended up later turned out that he had lied to get that lawyer. So he cheated the Netherlands out of taxpayers' dollars. And here we are. My daughter's now in the United States for longer than 2 years, but I don't get any financial help over there. On the contrary, I spent $120,000 and have been financially devastated and ruined by American family court.
Yeah.
So can we conclude from my story, from your story, and from the hundreds of cases that you and I personally know, since we are working together to try and improve things, that there is extreme gender bias going on in this Hague Convention treaty in the way it's implemented?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say that women are systematically and consistently discriminated against in courts across the U.S. and in every country. And I mean, we can see this also with other issues with women's rights. But specifically in family court, it is so ugly, and it's devastating, and it's devastating not only to the women, but it's devastating the women and the mothers, but it's devastating to the children.
Right.
And there are no advocates at all for these children that are fighting for this. I can't even hire a lawyer, in Italy.
Right, and you are an attorney also.
Yes. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Right.
It can happen to anybody. It can happen to the best attorney. It can happen to an international lawyer. It can happen to, that's not something that I did, but still, I mean, it can happen to anybody, and that's the thing.
Well, on this topic, because you're bringing up a really important point here, I've made this database on my website. Let me show the website, share it with the viewers.
By the way, what a great website you have.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
And Jasmine will see it one day, if she hasn't already.
So if you go here to this particular, in the top navigation to this particular link called Mommy Site, you see a bunch of cases that are already public. These are all names. These are all clickable links. And I want to take you to a mom who is an international attorney, since that's what you're touching on right now. And Her name is Mary Jose Carrascosa. When you click on this link, it'll bring you to an article in the Daily Mail in the UK. And you see here that this international attorney was jailed for 8 years for loving her child. She was locked up. She was in jail for 9 years. Her daughter...
Outrageous.
Yes, her daughter's in Spain. And Mary is now in, Maria is now in, she's been released and she's back in the United States. So this is outrageous.
It's outrageous. And Geerte, how is this in the best interest of a child for their parent, their mother, to be jailed for any amount of time for allegedly abducting them?
Yeah,
I mean, it's insanity.
Her daughter puts out, this is the mom, Maria, and here you see her crying because her daughter puts out YouTube videos crying on YouTube that she wants to see mom. I mean, how is this even, these are gross human rights violations.
Yeah, Geerte, I would say that this is definitely human rights violations, and I would say this is a crime against humanity.
Yes,
for maternally depriving these children of their mother. I mean, everybody should have a right, and does actually have a legal right to have both parents in their life, unless something is really wrong. Okay, even now, the law in Italy, okay, as we speak, states that both parents and the child have a right to be in each other's lives, okay? And joint custody is, by default what the law states, unless there is a problem, there's a danger to the child, for example. I don't know if the one parent is, putting them in danger, neglecting them, something like that, okay? And it has to be really gross neglect. It has to be something really bad. And in my case, I've been evaluated. We've all been evaluated several times. And this is what's really bad with my case, is that basically the findings have been that I'm a perfectly suitable mother. Okay, I can go ahead and keep on, continuing to be the mother of this child, and the father can go ahead and be the father of his child. However, the courts will not take any sort of action. After 3 years, they've had several evaluations. They've had social services involved. At the end of the day, everyone concludes that, the situation is what it is, but the mother's okay, the father's okay, yet they won't change the sole custody order for the father. So I'm just like completely tormented every day because I would love to be a part of my child's life. I'm sitting here waiting for him all the time. This is why I'm here. I'm in Italy because I'm waiting for him.
Yeah, and share with because a lot of the protective mothers have a hard time, continuing and functioning in life because they're so traumatized from the loss of their children. But you're actually working like 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet.
I think I'm losing you.
Can you still hear me? Because I can hear you. Well, while you're getting the internet connection improved, I will share the screen. What I was going to talk about is how incredibly hard it is to make ends meet in another country. Okay, while you're working on that. But I had just pulled up this screen because we were talking about Maria's case over here, the woman who was in jail for 9 years. But we also have success stories. Here is a story of Marianne Weilharter, who's an Australian citizen. Her son was born in Austria, and he was actually abducted by the father through the Hague Convention to Denmark, and she fought the decision through the United Nations. She filed a petition under the Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. In short, we call that CEDAW. The CEDAW United Nations Treaty is something I want to share here with all the protective mothers involved in international custody cases involving the Hague, where you're separated from your kids. Marion actually won her case in February of this year, which is a great victory for all of us because we can now use her ruling for our own United Nations petitions. So if you want to find this PDF, it's on a Google Drive. You can just Google her name, or, I shouldn't say Google her name, but go do a internet search for her name, Marion Weilharter, and then just write United Nations. And you'll find this PDF, and it actually includes her entire case, her entire ruling. This is very helpful for any of the mothers who choose to fight the United Nations, fight the Hague Convention rulings via the United Nations. I highly recommend everyone to do this.
Yes, I do too. Oops,
yeah. Well, no, it's okay. And
it's something I want to do too. I want to do this too. But in my case, I can't do it until I get a final order. I can't do anything. So I'm just stuck in limbo. And this is what happens to many mothers. And they become stuck for years and years without having any recourse.
Well, it's not a trial, right? The United Nations is not a court. So you can file this at any time. You can basically state, look, the fact that it's been going on for so long, that's discriminatory right there. That could be an actual ground in your petition to the United Nations. So you don't have to wait until you're done with your court orders, because just like in the United States, they will keep these cases pending and pending and pending, often to, make money out of it, because here you are litigating and the father and the mother are spending tons of money, and, all these court professionals are cashing in on this family conflict. So there's no incentive for these courts to end the case in a timely manner. Interestingly enough, the Hague Convention Treaty, though, all has to be wrapped up within 6 months. But once the case is back into the other country, it'll go on for years and years and years. And this is something that you can actually bring forward in your United Nations petition. And there are a lot of mothers, protective mothers, who will say to me, but the United Nations, that's where all of this has started. Their Agenda 21 that was decided on in 1985 is all about ripping families apart. So why would we now file with the United Nations? And my answer to that I just want to share publicly is like, look, if the United Nations has created the situation for protective mothers via the Agenda 21, then that is exactly where we need to now place the consequences. Let's bombard them with thousands of cases and say, "This, you wanted this? Well, here you go. This is what you."
Yeah. Hey, I'm doing it too. I agree. I mean, I agree 100%. It's something that I'm in the process of doing. And I think definitely we should all do this. We have to, move, maybe not everybody, but we need a movement. We need thousands, hundreds, if not thousands of us doing this.
Yeah, and while you're continuing to talk, what I'll do is pull up the United Nations CEDAW treaty, because, and I'll share the screen with you here. Hold on for a second. Just to share with the audience, this is the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. You have to go look on the United Nations website to make sure that the country that you are fighting against is signed on to this treaty. So they must have ratified it, and not only that, they must have also ratified the optional protocol.
Very good point.
Yeah, so if, for example, the United States has not signed on to this treaty, so in my particular case, I cannot file a petition against the United States on this particular treaty.
Yeah, that's definitely true. You have to look at that as a prerequisite for sure.
Right. So is Italy signed on
Yes.
to this treaty?
Yes,
And
they
have
are.
they signed on
Believe
to
it or not, they are.
have they signed on to the protocol as well?
I think I'm losing you again.
Okay. So my question to you was, do you know if Italy has signed on to the optional protocol for the CEDAW treaty as well?
Oh, I lost you a little bit there, but Italy is signed on.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the other part of your question. I am working on this, and yes, they are. I'm sorry for you that the U.S. isn't. I mean, in today's day and age, you would think that they would be. Very sad.
The U.S. has barely signed on to any of the treaties, and this is what I kind of wanted to explain to the audience, that the U.S. might have signed on, for example, to the Convention Against Torture, but they don't have the protocol in place, which means that if they signed on to the treaty, all that means is that there's some commission somewhere collecting cases and presenting that maybe to Congress every once in several years, but they don't actually act on individual complaints that are filed. So, I don't think Americans realize that they barely have any rights in the international arena. However, the United States has the American Organization of States, which is kind of the American continent, Northern, Southern, and Central America's version of the United Nations. And I'll pull that up so people can see that.
Yeah, I would agree with you. 100%.
So tell me how you are surviving right now. What is it like to be stuck in limbo in Italy?
Oh, yeah, Geerte, it's an absolute nightmare. I don't even really know how I do it. You were asking me before, I think we lost contact for a little while, but asking me how I woke up and worked. And honestly, I just, kind of take it day by day. It's almost like a 12-step program. I mean, it's so difficult, and to be, I do see my son, but it's so limited. And, when you go from every single night for years and years, seeing your child, and then you see him 6 nights a month, like in my case, I mean, I know you haven't seen your daughter, which is terrible. I'm not minimizing that, but it's like, I moved 5 minutes down the street, and I'm here, I'm waiting. It's been almost 3 years and nothing's changed. And it's so difficult. I don't know how I do it, but I do. I have hope that things will change, and I'm constantly trying to do something. I have big plans for the future. I'm working on, I have a business plan, and I'm working on lots of things, and I'm in touch with many women in the same situation. And I think that that's one thing that helps a lot. I have my family helping me, and I have friends helping me. But, I'm scared all the time, and I feel like I'm like a chicken with my head cut off, running around all the time, trying to, make enough money, because, you have to pay your attorney fees first before your rent, basically. Or,
Yeah.
you're going to run into some real big problems. And, I have a lot of litigation going on. It's not just my separation and my custody case. I have a very aggressive ex-husband who is abusing the legal system to abuse me. So he's using the legal system to further abuse me, basically, and my son, our son. So, and this is, what often happens. I would say 95% of this, 99% of these types of cases, this is what happens. His family's in the law here, they're lawyers, and he has unlimited access to, finances. He's very wealthy. He has, lawyers at his, beck and call, and he can just keep on filing things against me. And I only have so much behind, so much money, and it can only work so much, and I'm stressed out all the time. And so basically I just work to pay my lawyers.
I think you're bringing up some really great points here, because in the situation that you're in, your ex is surrounded by family, by friends, He is in his native country, so he knows the language really well. And here you are, you're stuck in a country with everyone speaking Italian. That's not your first language. Right. You're not an attorney in Italian family law. Your family isn't there. Your friends aren't there. I'm sure you've made some friends, but I mean, this is like a huge uphill battle. You have to work a job in a language that's not yours. You're not supported by family. You don't have the same rights as an Italian citizen would have. So the entire situation is completely unequal, not only in the fact that you're now facing a trial based on bogus charges, but you have all these other cards stacked against you.
Exactly.
We need to really, confront the United Nations and make sure this Hague Convention Treaty is adjusted to the more global society that we live in today, because we are living in a very different era compared to 1985 when this Hague Convention Treaty was drawn up. In those days, it was often the fathers who would abduct the children to the Middle East and a lot, Africa.
Right, countries that weren't a party or
right,
and kids would disappear.
Right now, it's turned around. It's turned around. It's most of the cases are abusive fathers, as we explained, using the treaty to sever the mother-child bond, and
it's working. It's working.
Yeah, and these fathers' rights group have handbooks of hate, where they actually share this information with each other. And, we need to change the treaty in such a way that it facilitates the relocation of mothers and children. Because like we stated, it's facilitating it for the fathers, but not for the mothers. So it's very discriminatory, very gender biased. I'm going to share my screen again because I wanted to share with the audience a group that's working on this particular topic. It's called Expat Stuck Moms Global ARC, Global ARRK, as you can see here as I shared my screen. This organization was started by several protective mothers who have dealt with particularly this situation that you're in, where you're actually stuck in another country due to all of these regulations. They're actively supporting parents in this situation, and they've also concluded that it's mostly mothers in this situation. And they're also campaigning to change the law to make sure that it gets adjusted and we're not, stuck in this archaic paternal, entitled treaty as the way it is working out for all of us right now.
Yes, that's an excellent resource, definitely. So I'm in contact with them as well. Definitely. I would suggest to any mother in this situation or thinking about, leaving her husband because of a domestic violence situation or any situation, and she's, in an international relationship, to, contact as many, other women or, look into these types of resources. Of course, seek legal advice, but that's not the answer as we see, unfortunately. It should be. But, you have to do your own footwork.
Absolutely. And for mothers who are, or let's say you're in love, let's say you're, 25 years old and you're meeting a nice guy and he's from another country and you feel very adventurous and you're thinking of relocating to another country. Think and know before you go. So you can click on this link over here, know before you go.
Yeah, that's a good link.
Yeah, realize that what you're getting into if you get pregnant in the other country, even if you are returning home to have the baby in your own country, as soon as you move back with the baby to the country of the father and you live there longer than 6 months, the rules and regulations are that the habitual residence then becomes the country of the father.
Very good point. Yes, if you're pregnant, I would not leave the country where you want to have the child and where you want to remain, because if you even leave for I don't know, a month or two, they can say that that's the child's habitual residence, even if the child's just in your womb.
Yes.
Insane.
So, and I don't think most moms realize this, or most women realize this before they get pregnant. Like I said, there's the internet. We're now dating internationally, and fall in love with some guy in some other country, and all of a sudden, here we are stuck in a nightmare, being pregnant, and now for 18 years, your kid and you are stuck in another country, or you lose custody and you're separated from your children altogether. Mm-hmm. And let's not forget that in many of these cases, the fathers will also sue the mothers for their attorney fees. They'll go after them for child support. So here you are all of a sudden separated from your children, and not only that, they will demand money for you. It's like
right. And if you're in an archaic legal system, as I am in Italy, they can go ahead and file any type of criminal charges against you. For example, my ex-husband filed sexual misconduct charges against me. And basically for the last year I've been faced with another case that he filed against me because, he's just trying to cover me with legal problems and cases so that I have to hire another attorney to defend me. So instead of 6 attorneys, I need 7 attorneys. Then I need 8 attorneys. And I recently had a case that was just dismissed because there was absolutely no evidence. But because of the way that the Italian legal system works and the way that the way that he is, he went ahead and filed charges against me for some outrageous made up false story, and they kept it in the system for over a year before it got dismissed. Now, mind you, okay, this was a sexual misconduct charge against a child, okay, my own child, okay, and he was claiming that I was abusing my own child, okay. There was absolutely no evidence. It sat in the courts. The prosecutors looked at it. There's no grand jury here. You can just have a friend who's maybe a prosecutor in the office, can file the charge, and they just leave it there, and they, scare you to death, scare the person to death. I mean, I was like horrified. And I'm a teacher. I educate the children of this community where I live. I'm taking care of the prosecutor's child during the day at a summer camp. And yet I have these charges that I'm facing. It's outrageous.
Well, he's probably trying to get you fired just to cause you more financial issues, right?
Definitely. Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah, this is what we call a vexatious litigant. It's someone who's constantly taking you to court over and over again.
Yeah,
I actually had my ex-husband just filed motions against me this week, and in it stated that it was such a drag for him to be taken to court, to have to go to court to ask permission for things.
Oh, sure.
And you know what? I've only taken him to court one time, and that's to divorce him. He's taken me to court at least 40 times. So who is harassing who here, right? But it's interesting. The narcissist will always turn everything around, right? They'll always accuse you of what they're actually doing themselves. And you're bringing up a really good point. These false allegations, these false, criminal charges against you. There's another mother right now who is in our situation. Her daughter was disappeared in the United States for 4 years. She's Dutch. So the daughter is now 16 years old. So she went to the United States to pick up the daughter. And what does the ex-husband do? He just files all kinds of criminal charges against her, totally bogus, just to try and block her out of the process. And again, these fathers, they have handbooks of hate on how to do this, how to legally abuse us, how to use the court system to continue this reign of domestic terror. And this must be addressed on a policy level. We must make sure that the policymakers are aware of this, so these these cases are the policies changed. And I kind of wanted to share my screen for a second and show how we are doing that, ways to do that. And we need more protective mothers to join in. Because like I said, yes, we can scream that the United Nations is actually responsible for the current state of affairs, but we need to let our voices heard and not let them get away with it. It's easy to complain. It's much harder to actually make sure things change. And we cannot just say, well, this is all screwed up, so what the hell are we going to do? No, we need to organize in an intelligent way and fight back and let our voices be heard. And one way of doing that is on this show, of course. But we also need to go to these conferences worldwide. And this is one that's coming up next year in Dublin. It's the 7th World Congress on Family Law and Children's Rights. I actually submitted an abstract for this, so I'm planning to speak during this conference on exactly this issue, how abusive fathers use the Hague Convention as a tool of coercive control. And not just the Hague Convention, but family courts all across the world are enabling and facilitating abusive fathers. And we need to we need to speak up about this, and we need to bring to the table effective solutions to stop this. And I have several ideas. You have several ideas. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what you and I are doing. Let's first of all, we are in an encrypted messenger applications with tons of other protective moms in Hague Convention cases and sharing our stories with each other, not only to support each other, but also to think and brainstorm about ways to change this, because it's happening to us, but we don't want this to happen to our children and their children, right? We need to stop this nonsense. So
I think that we're all in the process of, trying to unite together to form some sort of, revolution and to start the process, because we've talked before about this, but a lot of the protective mothers, I don't know, maybe from the past, they go through this terrible nightmare of a life and then eventually find their voice, after years and years and years. And many of them write books, and then you hear their stories. There's some, television movies that have been based on, their story. But I'm really looking at doing something now and trying to unite with these other women. And I think these other women feel the same, as we do. And we're trying to do something now in the present moment and in the very near future to help not only ourselves and our own children, but the ones that are coming right behind us. Because, it is a pandemic, but I think that basically because of technology, international travel, the way that the world works today, it's moving at a much faster rate. And we're just seeing like an explosion of these Hague cases and the Hague and the backlash of these Hague petitions that are being filed against mothers. So, and we're also seeing, the backlash in family courts all across the world. So I think that we're making great, efforts and plans. And, I'm in contact with, so many women that are in the same situation. We just really need to organize. And, we're in the process of doing this. And it is hard, too, because we're all in our own little nightmare that's going on every single day. So, it's like, where do you find the time? You're trying to work, 3 jobs just to pay your lawyers and to feed yourself and to see your child, or to try to fight to see your child and go to court. So it's not easy, but it is happening. It's something that I think it's terrible, but it needs to be done, to protect the children and the mother-child bond, because there's so much maternal deprivation and it's unnecessary. It's really unnecessary. And it's so sad.
Yeah, we need to get to the root of this. The people that set up that Agenda 21 to ruin family life, to basically the folks that put it together are actually on YouTube explaining that the reason why they're doing is this because it's easier for them to control the next generation.
Yeah. I agree. I've seen that. I would go as far as saying that it's actually like part of the war on terror. I mean, it's part of terrorism. What do? You break apart the families, and that's where you start.
Yeah.
You start at the root of it, and so I really feel like that's what's happening too.
We get a generation of traumatized children. They're easier to control. They're easier to brainwash. Not only that, now they're a source of income because if you have traumatized children, now you can throw the pharmaceutical industry at it and put all these kids on antidepressants. You can enroll them in therapy, so now the therapist is making money off of it. They might start, in a lot of the cases, as a result of maternal deprivation, children become promiscuous. They show promiscuous behavior. They start causing trouble. They become violent. There's mental illness, drug addiction. So now there's this whole industry that makes money off of the trauma that has been created. So there's a financial incentive to do this by this is what I'm seeing.
No, I agree, definitely.
And this is one of the reasons why I have the show, because I'm very interested to hear from other people what they think is going on here. Show me some source data. And when you go to my website, I actually wrote a piece about this. I've done research into this for the last 2 years since this has happened to me. And I wrote this piece over here called Reflection. And what I've done is I've pulled a bunch of data. I've looked at all kinds of data to put together why and how children are trafficked through the global family courts. And it's important to use this word trafficking. Some protective mothers say, you can't call this trafficking. Oh yeah, this is trafficking. This is judicial child trafficking, and it's happening through the family courts. It's happening through child protective services. It's paid for by people's tax dollars. So if you don't want to be participating in that, then you have to stand up for it, even if you're not a protective parent. There's people making big money off of this. It's part, the pedophile agenda is involved with this. The foster care system is profiting from this. And yes, like you said, mental health industry, pharmaceutical industry. We need to tackle this this at the root. This is a big topic to take on, and in every show I'll highlight some of this. But let's scroll down to, and like I said, this is a work in progress. I'm always open to hear other people's ideas and might incorporate that as well, right? I mean, this is, I'm just trying to brainstorm with all of you as to why this is happening and what we can do about it.
Well, we've seen, Geerte, we've seen, and I've done research and I've seen this a lot, but looking at the U.S. cases, and the U.S. custody cases, the fathers' rights groups are really tuned in to all of this. And there is so much federal funding. And if you really take a good look at what's going on, judges will actually get this federal money from, for example, I don't know, fatherhood.gov, for example. I'm sure you're familiar with that. For every ruling where they rule in favor of the father and him getting custody, he or she will get a kickback. I mean, you can look at these statistics. I don't have them in front of me, but it's
I have them in front of me.
Really sickening.
Let's take a look at it. Yeah, if you go on the reflection page, exactly what you're stating right now, research has shown that 82% of all abusive fathers are granted full custody. That's in the United States, but we are seeing this as a global pattern. If you click on these links, for example, this one, it'll take you to evidence of the fact that these fatherhood.gov organization, that it's all federally funded. All right, these are all documents, PDF documents, government documents showing that fathers are funded to take custody of children. I've had women on my show, protective mothers on my show, who lost custody to convicted felons, convicted murderers. These men come out of jail and they are enrolled in programs that are federally funded that award them full custody of their children, even though they have beaten someone to death with their bare hands. It's just out of control. The cases are mind-boggling. And like I said, all of these are clickable links. You're right, it works like a corporation. It profits from the victims. It's a pro-abuse victim industry. So it's a very intense agenda. The pedophile agenda is in this as well. As you know, most child pornography is created by fathers who have full custody of their children. But I want to kind of go back to the Hague Convention that we're talking about today. And one of the things that I'm suggesting to that I want to bring up in Dublin at the World Conference is that what we really need is a judicial oversight committee that makes sure that there is proper implementation of the original treaty and that treaty gets implemented fairly across all the participating parties. All right, so because that doesn't exist right now. That's one of my ideas of improving. We need to get domestic violence included in Article 13 of that treaty, and child abuse and child molestation must trigger Article 13 of that treaty. But we also need that international multidisciplinary United Nations Judicial Oversight Committee to make sure that all countries equally implement it and correctly implement it, and also to make sure that the central authority is actually living up to the enforcement protocol that they have this beautiful PDF here on the internet, 71 pages of rules and regulations that are actually completely ignored. It's used as toilet paper. So what can we do to get such types of measures passed? Like I said, I'm planning to go to the World Conference. We've looked at Marion Weilharter's case, who won the CEDAW case. And for Americans who have so little United Nations rights, please go look at this website. It's called the Organization of American States. You can file a petition here. We need to do this massively for all the American protective mothers who are watching today or watching the YouTube recording of the show later. You need to massively file with the Organization of American States. And even if other protective mother activists say, like, it's a lot of work and it's going to take years, that does not matter. We need to do this by the thousands. We need to overwhelm these human rights organizations and do this on a massive scale. We also have here the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights for all the American protective mothers that are dealing with this. And also, both of these treaties are applicable for mothers in South America and Central America. So this, would be two types of petitions to file for everyone. Okay, human rights. And then when you go to the United Nations human rights treaties here, you can search them on a map. You can see all the different types of treaties there are. For Americans, you can file a civil rights violation United Nations case. The United States that has signed on to the optional protocol. Here it's mentioned, remember, your treaty, your country that you're filing in must be signed on to the optional protocol. And you can go to this website here, the United Nations Human Rights, and see exactly what the country that you're battling against, what treaties they're signed on to, and make sure that they have the optional protocol ratified as well. So one of the things that you and I are doing is looking at all these types of options, and we're looking to start gathering cases, because when you submit an individual petition to the United Nations or to the American Organization of States, you need to show the committees that you're not an exception. So you must back up your petition with cases, with hundreds of other cases. So this is the reason why I started building a database for everyone to use, and this is going to be expanded in the future, and I'll share my screen here. So for example, if you're in the United States, you're a protective mother and you want to file with the American Organization of States, you can go here to Mommy's site on my website, and you can go and click all these links. These are all bringing you to websites of moms in the same situation. So let's, for example, click on this one. It'll bring you to a newspaper article about this particular protective mother who was jailed after not paying a guardian ad litem. So each of these links are clickable. And what you do with that is you actually go to and create PDFs out of all these links. All right, so you can convert websites to PDF. There's free apps if you go and research that. Put a search query out there, do an internet search for websites to PDF conversion, and you can actually just print out all these cases and submit them along with your individual petition to show the United Nations Committee, look, this is systemic. All our cases are the same. This is a big Ponzi scheme that is it's just all about money and about ruining children's lives. And you place it back on the plate of the United Nations that has actually created this pandemic. We must do this. This database, this is just 300 cases, but there are 2 million protective mothers, and that's a conservative estimate, in the United States alone right now. In the worst case scenarios, they end up in murder and suicide. Mothers and children are committing suicide because they cannot handle the loss, the grief of losing their children, the financial devastation. The children cannot handle the maternal deprivation, which is so unnatural for them and so devastating psychologically and emotionally. Here's a list of mothers who have been murdered, and these are just some public cases that I've come across. There are, of course, thousands of more. The list of children is endless. It's by alphabet here. You can just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. I won't take you through it. But, if you're interested, again, these are all clickable links that take you to these individual stories. You can find them over here. And one of the reasons I'm building that database is to prove to the public that these are not exceptional cases, as we're often told. People come up to us and say, well, your situation is so bizarre, it's so extreme, that must be an exception. It's like, no, there is millions of us. And so we must keep building these databases and figure out ways to get organized, because these father's rights guys, they are organized, and we must really, counteract that, paternal fascism, as I call it.
God, it's so. Can you hear me, Geerte?
I can hear you. You were a little bit frozen. That's why I kept talking. But let's get back to you.
Thanks.
Because you are one of the very, very strong moms who is researching all of this and figuring out ways to brainstorm. And we need more moms to really, pull it together and make sure that somehow you get a handle on the grief. Can you share with the audience how are you able to mentally, emotionally, psychologically sustain yourself in another country and also be an activist? How do you do that?
Well, it's really difficult. I have my days. Like I said before, I have a support system. It's not here, so it's really difficult. Although I do have friends here. So part of my support system is here. I have my mom helping me. I have people in my family helping me. But it's something that it's a fight, everyday battle. It's an everyday battle. Every single day is different. I have good days and bad days. I have good news and bad news and, days with more bad news and more bad news and more bad news. And, I feel like, most of the time I feel like I'm, down in the bottom, like the rock bottom. And I don't even, I can't even imagine it going any deeper. I can't even imagine going any deeper into the hole. But, I just keep on breathing and just kind of keep on even, this sounds terrible, but even just taking it like, 15 minutes at a time, I'm sure you can relate, but you have to just keep on going because, things are temporary. Everything is temporary. So you just have to, keep on reminding yourself that. And your kids are getting older, as the time passes and things are changing. And, it's not always going to be this same situation. Hopefully it's going to be better and not worse, but you have to try. I mean, I have people talking to me all the time and I just keep on talking to myself and, hope and pray for the best. But it's hard. And I feel like if I focus on this type of thing in my work and, focus on doing something for other women in the same situation on a day-to-day basis and dealing with these issues every day, not necessarily my case, but another woman's case that I met through Global Arc or, on the internet or Facebook or whatever it is, or, a friend that I had back home that's dealing with a similar issue because they're popping up more and more, every day. And it's becoming the norm, really. I mean, mothers are having problems. I mean, women and mothers are having this problem all over and at every level, not just internationally. And so I just try to take it day by day. And, as you do too. I mean, it's hard, but if I kind of throw myself into the focus of doing something that has to doing something good that has to do with this particular issue or the issues that surround this, I feel like the momentum starts to go and I feel like, I have a little bit of energy to move forward, even on a daily basis. Even just talking to another mother in the same situation, it really helps.
Yes, very important.
Do you find that too?
Yeah, the support is extremely important. Like you said, sometimes it's just a matter of just breathing. You have a really difficult day. Realize that this too shall pass. That is my main motto. Like you said, the kids are growing older. And for us, the Hague Convention Treaty ends at age 16. I have another 3.5 years to go, and then this nightmares come to an end, and it will be done. And it's very important to realize that I really would like the moms to think about this because it is not worth ending your life over. And that is ultimately what these types of sadistic, malignant narcissists are out to accomplish. Because, if you lose it, then they can show the world and say, see, that's why that mother shouldn't have had custody. See? That's why
they win at the end.
Yeah. So the whole point is to somehow do what nurtures your soul. Like you're helping other mothers with legal issues, which is wonderful, and I'm so happy to see you do that, to know you. I'm honored to know you because
thanks, Geerte.
I have so much respect for that. If you're able to be in the middle of your own case, stuck in another country, facing 1 to 3 years imprisonment, and here you are offering legal advice to other protective mothers, to me, you are a hero, seriously. Because it's so easy to to be paralyzed into non-action, which is exactly what these fathers want. All right. So you and I are both activists, right? We're turning this grief into action because if we unite and we all fight together, then we can be that tsunami of change, as I call it. If we only fight individually, or if we fight very divisively in small groups, we're not going to achieve the change that we need. We must unite. And all the protective mother factions should really have that.
I agree. I agree. I think we need to put, any type of ego aside and any type of, of course you have your own personal interests, but this is a huge movement. And, once you realize that, you need to put your own feelings aside and move into that so that we can all evolve to a different place, a place where mothers and children are together and where they are protected and where they're able to protect each other. And I think we all see that, we just need to move towards it and really keep our attention and feeling on that. And, I think it's possible. I think it's just going to take time and energy and a lot of attention and, supporting one another. I think it's happening definitely now.
Yeah, it's we are on the front lines. These Hague Convention cases that you and I are caught up in are nothing new. This has been going on for quite a while, and the internet and social media coming around, for the last 10 years or so has really changed the game. Let's show the audience, and I'll share my screen here, a website, and here's your story actually. It's the Hague Convention Treaty.org, where we have started collecting stories, cases, Hague Convention type cases on this particular website. Here you can see case files. So when you click on the case files, you can scroll through a bunch of them. We started putting this together. This is the type of stuff that we need to do. Over here, we have a wall of shame. So we're listing the judges that are participating in this judicial child trafficking. We're naming names of attorneys who are involved with this. And participating and facilitating abuse by fathers. We're naming central authority figures, State Department individuals. There was a protective mom this week who outed one particular attorney on social media, and she got backlash. But you know what? I applaud that. Mm-hmm. We need to name the names of the attorneys and the judges and the individuals that are involved. This is not even so much about the abusive fathers. I mean, these people have disorders that are beyond fixing. People with narcissism, there's no cure for narcissism. I think only 1% actually has a slight chance of recovery. So forget about the fathers. It's not about them. We need to go after the individuals that facilitate the abuse by them. We need to out the system. And we do that by showing who these individuals are. What are the names of the attorneys? What are the names of the judges? What are the names of the guardian ad litems who are facilitating this? Out them. Out them on your Facebook page. Out them on websites. Don't do it if you feel unsafe about it. But I have things in the works. I'm planning to start expanding this database across the world, not just for Hague Convention cases, but for all cases.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can still hear you.
Okay, sorry. I know I'm going in and out over here, but I wanted to say too that definitely it's important to expose these people, and I want to just warn protective moms out there that, I would say about 80% of lawyers that hold themselves out as international Hague attorneys are not. They have no idea what's going on. I've had a number of lawyers that I've actually retained myself and later found out that they didn't know what was going on. And, not only did they not have a strategy, but they didn't know the laws. They didn't know, they just acted surprised when things happened. So, this is a really important point too. I mean, it's so, all the odds are against you and you can only do the best that you can do. But I mean, it's so unreal. It's so unreal because, I mean, I just, it's like, you think that if you hire an attorney, they're going to have a strategy, know what the laws are. Oops,
I still hear you.
my mic just cut out, sorry. But basically what I wanted to say is that when you hire an attorney, you have to orchestrate the whole show. And people don't realize this, mothers don't realize this, people don't realize this. When you hire your lawyer, you hope for the best and you hope that they know what they're doing, but that's not always the case. And with these cases, it's usually not the case.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to do your research, your own research. You need to have your own strategy. You need to work together as a team. And it's not easy. It's not easy for me, and I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
And, and then if you're going to another country too, and you're under a different legal system, it's even worse. But, you really have to try because the resources are out there. You can find the information. You just have to get focused and you have to open up. You have to talk to people. You have to find the right people. And you're pointing all of us in a really great direction. You have so many resources and, you're completely hooked up. So.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I found out too late. So I'm
Yeah,
hoping
well,
that
all of us, yeah.
Right. I'm hoping that the information that I found out is helpful for maybe protected mothers who are watching right now, who are, stuck in another country, trying to figure out what to do. You're giving excellent advice here. You cannot even consider or assume that your attorney will do his or her best. Even if they have the greatest of intentions, they don't know your case like you do.
Right. You need to push them. Yeah. You need to
Yes.
push them. You need to question them. You need to bother them. You need to, you need to be a pest basically. And it's okay. You have to do it. It's your life. It's your children's life. You have to do it. And, at the end of the day, you're going to be happy that you did it.
Yeah. You have to actually read all the documents. You need to educate yourself on your rights. You need to look at the treaty. You need to stand your ground. And I also wanted to tag on to what you're mentioning here about attorneys not being aware of what the Hague Convention is and calling themselves Hague Convention attorneys. The same goes for family court judges. I just had a protective mother over at my house today who was sharing that her children were abducted to the United States from Europe, and she had won her Hague Convention case, but her ex-husband abducted her children anyway. And then she had to go after her kids and go to family court and show the judge in family court, look, I have won my Hague Convention case. And the judge said to her, excuse me, ma'am, but what is the Hague Convention?
Yeah.
So the judge that you're in front of might not even be aware of this treaty, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So there's a lot of, and some people say educating judges. We need to educate judges. We need to educate the world on the fact that this is happening. I don't even think that a bunch of judges might not even realize that the fathers are abusing the treaty like this, if they're not even aware that there's even a treaty, right?
Yeah, right.
So in the other case that I was mentioning, the other mother who was trying to get her 16-year-old daughter back from the United States as we speak, this particular father came to the Netherlands and showed them fraudulent custody papers. These are fraudulent papers.
Yeah.
Stating that he had custody. He had no custody at all. So, we really have to make sure that our cases are heard. Make sure that you read the case documents. I know that's extremely hard. I have literally cardboard boxes full of documents. And as I was going through my nightmare, I couldn't even look at the letters. I couldn't even look at the documents. I couldn't even read it. It's taking me, processing the trauma first to a certain extent. You can't process it all the way, but getting to the point that you're over the psychic shock and that you look at these papers. And that's why we need women like you who are actual attorneys, and you have the passion. You have the passion in this field, and you have the knowledge in this field. So I'm kind of want to put this shout out to, all, protective mother attorneys out there who are, giving us a little bit of advice here and there to kind of find our way through this maze of laws and rules and regulations and pitfalls. What else can protective mothers do? What would your advice be if a protective mother is finding herself in a Hague Convention case and they're watching this right now? Can you still hear me? Kind of dropping out. I think I've lost your connection. Wendy, can you hear me? I think your internet connection.
Here I am.
Okay, there you are. You're kind of going in.
Sorry, I'm in Italy.
Yeah, I know. Internet's not so great in Italy.
Yeah, it's not so great here. We're about 50 years behind.
Okay.
I'm surprised. I feel like I'm just shocked that they even have Wi-Fi here.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, so you were saying, like, what would be my other?
Well, you're breaking up again. You have to kind of move through the room.
Italy. Okay. Sorry. I'm going to blame it on Italy.
Yeah.
Okay. What about now?
That's better. Yep.
Here we go. Okay. I'm by a window. The walls are thick here.
Well, let's look at that beautiful artwork you have behind you. Did your son create those images? Yes, right?
Yes, that would be my son, myself, and his aunt and his grandmother.
Aww.
And I think down below here we have some more of his beautiful, colorful rainbow promise artwork that he calls it.
I love it.
We have some more over here. Do you have some over there on your end?
I'm going to share my screen and show the audience while we talk some of your son's artwork.
There you go.
Yeah, it's awesome.
There we are. There we are.
Hey there. This is you and him.
There's my face.
Yeah, now we can recognize you.
Without the hat, right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's funny. No, I mean, I think that if you're in this type of situation and you're thinking about leaving an unhealthy situation and you're with a partner or a husband, you need to really plan it out every single step and know that this Hague Convention is going to be a major problem for you, if you're thinking about doing it right now. And, you just have to expect the worst situation because it's the reality at this point.
I agree.
And, and hope for the best and just plan every single step out, not just like 1, 2, and 3. You need to plan out like the next 10 years. So it's a big undertaking for sure.
Yeah, and one of the things that we really need, is some kind of, you and I are organizing, and there's Global ARC, and there's several other, organizations that are focusing on these international cases, but really what we need is funding to start some kind of retreat center for mothers and children going through this, or at least the mothers, because when the mothers are no longer have custody of their children, we need some kind of place where these mothers can go to get alternative healing, massage, therapy, talk therapy, help with these types of legal issues, help with financial issues. Most of us are completely financially destroyed. We need a one place where we can all go, a place that's run by protective mothers for protective mothers, and where they are safe from any, violence, ex-husbands or ex-partners, where the children are safe. And I just hope that mentioning it on air will bring forward someone who is willing to invest in this, because there's a huge need for this. There's millions of mothers who have lost custody of their children, whether that's through the Hague Convention or a national, local, global, a local family court. It doesn't matter. Losing custody is losing custody, and if you lose custody of your child to an abusive father, you are in a situation where you need all types of support. Physical support, mental support, psychological support, emotional support, judicial support, financial support, help with finding a place to live. Most of the protective mothers I know have been without a home at some point, or they currently still are.
Right.
The majority is not able to function in a job, which means they're also not able to pay for an attorney or to even, to function. It's just a pandemic. It is a Holocaust.
It is a Holocaust. Yeah, it's definitely a terror for sure. Definitely.
Yeah.
Terrorism, I would call it.
It is domestic terrorism. As I put on my Facebook group a lot, my Facebook page, where's Homeland Security in all of this?
Yeah, where are they?
And we need, mainstream media is not covering any of this, because the powers that be are making money of destroying family life. So the last thing they want to have is to have their, dirty laundry aired on mainstream media. I am seeing more and more articles about it. It's starting to trickle in, but we need many, many more, much more media attention on this. There are some documentaries in the making as we speak. My case is going to be featured in several of these as well. I am going to urge protective mothers to think about going public with their case. Don't do it if you're going to be retaliated against, but you can do it just like you're doing right now, Wendy. You just put the hat over your head. You had the anonymous mask even.
Do you like my hat?
I like the anonymous mask too.
You can do that too. I have that. Yes.
Yeah.
I can show you guys that too. I can move over here and get my mask.
Yeah. Put on the anonymous mask. I mean, for all the viewers today, I mean, this is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Mothers and children are hunted down like wild game. We're treated like we are the biggest threat to society, or the actual opposite is happening. These abusive fathers are ripping mothers and children apart, and the courts and CPS are facilitating this. And now we have to go and present ourselves to the world and tell our stories with an anonymous mask.
Here's my face now.
For crying out
face.
loud. Yeah, that's what we are. Most of us are anonymous. I have taken it upon me to take off my anonymous mask, and you are more than allowed to know my name, because I won't stand for any of this domestic terrorism that's taking on globally. This is just, we must change this. If you ruin family life is at the root of society. If you destroy family life, then what's the foundation of society? It's a mess. We're going to have, the next generation is going to be a generation of abused children, right?
Non-functioning, yes, easily controlled population.
Yes.
Don't I sound like anonymous?
You sound like anonymous. So you'll have to.
Well, today, Anonymous declared the war against ISIS. So today, this anonymous face is declaring the war against domestic terror.
Perfect.
How's that?
It's perfect. And
I can't breathe now.
You could take it off and put your hat back on, and Well, look at the beautiful pictures that you're showing there made by your son, because you know what, I'm happy that you at least have some level of contact with him. We're joking and we're laughing, and I think that's also really super important, is that you keep your sense of humor throughout all of this, because in essence, none of these sadistic narcissists, psychopaths, fathers can take our soul. We are strong. We got light in our hearts, and don't let anyone rob it from you. This is where we are not just surviving, thriving straight through all of this terror, through all of this hell, through all of this grief, through all the fear, through all the anger. If you can keep laughing, if you can keep smiling, if you can keep cracking jokes, if you can keep being supportive to your other protective mother friends out there, then we'll make it through,
Yeah, it has to be our mission. It has to be our mission, because, I mean, there's no other way.
There's no other way.
Don't you agree?
How can we say, well, this is what's happened to me and I'm not going to do anything with it? It's not possible. Our lives are marked. Our children's lives are marked by all of this. Generations to come are marked by all of this. So we must do this work. There's just no choice.
Yeah, it's a generational problem, definitely. Yep. So I'm losing you again.
We owe it to not just to ourselves, to other protective mothers and children. We owe it to our children's children, and so on. We cannot allow this to continue, and we must do everything to unite and fight this at every level. So thank you for sharing your story today with us all, Wendy. It's very courageous of you. And any guest that comes on my show and tells a very personal story, I have nothing but respect for you for coming on today. Hat and anonymous mask and all.
Thanks, Geerte. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on, and thank you for all the help that you are providing for other protective mothers out there. And, together we stand strong, and we're going to go on. And thank you all for watching Hell is for Children, everybody. I hope to see you all again next week when we have another very interesting case and successful outcome to share with you. That hopefully will give us all some hope that things can get better as well. So, and this is what I hope for you too, Wendy. I hope that you do not have to go to jail. I mean, it's ridiculous. I hope that somehow this gets resolved in such a way that you are, again, the primary caregiver of your son, because you are his primary attachment figure, and you have the right to raise him, to protect him, and to be with him every day. And, I hope somehow this show will contribute to you being reunited with him in such a way,
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for having this show. And I'd like to do this again, maybe after the fall, and we can have part 2.
Yeah, we could do part 2, and it would also be great to have you on when I interview other Hague Convention moms, and maybe you have advice for them, and then, feel free to come on and help out. This is a show for everyone. All I do is facilitate it, share the data and facts that I found, but it's really the show for all of us. So it's an open platform. So thanks for being on. Thanks for watching, everybody. And Wendy, I'll see you around, of course. And
ciao, ciao.
Yeah, ciao, ciao, ciao.
Ciao for now. Okay, love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week on another episode of Hell's for Children. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Conscious Consumer Network was designed to create a live broadcast TV network for free and independent media, and has been live on the air since the 1st of January 2015. CCN gets millions of minutes watched every month and is viewed in over 140 countries having produced around 1,400 shows and counting.
And you know, it's very hard to get on the mainstream media, of course, the corporate media that's getting tighter and more monopolized and more restrictive for any outside information.
The live broadcasts are free to view and all shows are archived in high definition on YouTube. CCN plays host to a stellar team of broadcasters and producers, all of whom rely on the network to get their message and information out to the world. CCN has continued to evolve, constantly seeking to create greater media usage and opportunities for both broadcasters and viewers, including supporting projects such as the newly launched consciouscommunities.org, a brand new social media platform that is free to use and has been created for those dedicated to the pursuit of freedom, justice, peace and sustainability to come together and co-create the solutions to a better world. Due to the constant heavy usage, we are in need of replenishing and replacing of key hardware and infrastructural wear and tear. This includes the fixing and replacing of parts of the live broadcast equipment system, as well as increasing storage capacities for content and projects. Without this, CCN and its affiliate projects will simply not be able to continue. Conscious Consumer Network is a publicly funded project, and it is up to you all to keep CCN on the air. Support our funding drive with a donation or become a monthly pledger. We thank you all for supporting free and independent media.